Hey guys, what's going on? PBM here, coming at you pre-recorded with another tips and tricks video. Before we get started, I just wanted to say thanks to everyone who watched my last video and gave me some positive feedback. I appreciate it a lot. I went on Twitter and asked you guys what you wanted to see, and a lot of people had the great suggestion of looking at laning phase and what you're supposed to look for as a support and how to play the laning phase and, what you can do to improve it. So, the thing about laning phase, we're going to look at a ranked game here, which is a very high ranked game. There's actually 9 current or former SPL players in this game. This Hercules is actually Meerkat's alt account. The only person who isn't an SPL or former SPL player in this game is actually Man Ray, and he's a very highly, a high-rated Challenger Cup mid laner. I don't know what to call that, but yeah, he's a good player. He's a Challenger Cup player. He's, I believe, in Grandmasters, so this is a very good ranked game to look at. In our duo lane, we're against Vedium and Aurora, who are both pro players. Vedium plays on Denial. He played on Enemy at Worlds last year. They finished second. And of course, Aurora played for Eager at DreamHack. I just got an invite in game, so obviously not going to accept that. So, the thing to look at from the laning phase is that it actually starts at the buff clear. You want to start clearing these buffs as efficiently as you can, because often just getting to lane first in duo lane can dictate whether you will have pressure or whether the enemy will have pressure. And the reason this is important is because just having pressure in the lane will allow you to rotate aggressively in the enemy jungle. So for example, if we have them push back at their tower when the red buff respawns and the speed buff respawns or mid harpies respawn, whenever you decide to rotate out of lane, you will be able to rotate ahead of the enemy duo lane because you will have a wave pushing into their tower and you will be further up on the map. So for example, if my jungler wants to invade their speed buff respawn at 3 minutes and 15 seconds or whatever, I will be able to rotate ahead of the enemy support if we have lane pressure, which can end up causing us to have a numbers advantage at the fight on speed buff, maybe a 4v3 or whatever the case may be, and we're favored in that fight. So lane pressure, when executed properly, can pretty much completely dictate the pace of the early game and which team is favored in it. So it starts at the buff camps. What you're going to want to do is have your hunter clear the back harpies, and you want to have your mid laner and your support clear the red buff. So we're going to play this at 1x speed, and we're going to have the mid laner will pull this red buff and then reset it to the guardian. So the guardian will use their ability. Guardian and mid laner use their abilities on the red buff, and then I'm going to sit here and tank this buff, where the mid laner is going to come help this AD carry who used their abilities on the back harpies, auto attack the back harpies, and they're going to clear this. So you want to clear the back harpies a little bit before the red buff, and I'm still tanking this. And then the hunter will come finish off the red buff, and then both people will go to lane. Something to keep in mind is that Agni is not a mid lane god who can hit both camps from the order side of the map we're looking at right now. I believe one of the only mid lane gods who actually can do that consistently every time is Ra. His beam is actually long enough to reach the back harpies and the red buff at once, so that's something to keep in mind. There is a bit of map asymmetry here, whereas on Chaos side, Ra can hit both of these camps extremely easy. I believe Raijin can hit both camps, Isis can hit both camps. You do have to pull it almost perfectly for that to be the case, but in the event that the mid laner can use their abilities to hit both camps, they will actually help their duo lane get to lane so much ahead of the other lane that it can almost win the laning phase and create pressure by itself. So a little crappy that that's the case, but it is the case, so that's something to keep in mind, where if you're this mid laner and you're playing one of those gods that can hit both camps, if you can do that perfectly every time, it will create such a huge advantage for the duo lane that it might make them win the laning phase by itself, so something to keep track of. Another thing to keep track of is if you are Hoi Yi, you can actually one-shot these back harpies, so if you're the support player and you have a Hoi Yi on your team, you want to stand towards the edge of the leash range of the red buff when the buffs first spawn, because if you do not, the Hoi Yi will one-shot the small harpies on the back camp, and you will get zoned of that experience, so something to keep in mind. So we're going to keep going to... Actually, I'm going to rewind this really quick. Another thing to keep track of when you're the support player is when you do this red buff with the mage, you're actually going to be tanking a majority of the damage from the buff. So what you'll see here is the mage will actually pull this buff, and then they will leash it to me, or the support player. And you're just going to tank it. And you're actually going to get pretty low, because not only are you tanking this camp, but you'll be tanking the board camp. So what I like to do is actually pop a health potion while I'm tanking this. And the reason I do that is because I have more than enough health potions. I normally buy about 6 or 7 potions, going into lane normally 3 or 4 health, and then 2 or 3 multi-potions, depending on how at risk I think I am of getting poked or whatever the case may be. So, you want to pop this potion ahead of time, because if you're taking damage, you want to stay as close to full as you can, so that when you go into the laning phase, you're not at 60% health, and then you pop your potion. The reason this is important is because even if you win a matchup and you get to lane ahead of time, if the enemy duo lane is smart and they see that you're poked out more and you're at about 60% health and they're both at maybe 80% health, they'll see that as an opportunity where they can use their abilities, on you and poke you out and put you at risk of dying, or just make you back off of the wave, which can either decrease the pressure you have on the wave, or they can go for a kill play on you. Either one is extremely bad for you to allow to happen, so you want to make sure you're going to lane almost as close to full health as possible. I actually popped this potion a little early. I popped it when I'm only missing about 150-ish health after this next hit. And you can maybe wait until about 200, 250. So you'll go to the board camps with your hunter. The hunter should pull, and then you're going to use your ability on it again, both of you are, and then the hunter should actually leash to you. Man Ray could have leashed a little earlier than he did, since I have that health potion ticking, and it wouldn't hurt me as much. We're both going into lane pretty much full, which is all you can really want. So, here you're walking into the lane, and this looks closer than it actually is in terms of who should win this lane. So, oftentimes the lane is dictated, or the lane pressure is dictated by who walks there first. So, for example, you'll see that Vedium is actually maybe there. He's been auto-attacking a couple times. He and Man Ray are about there even, but I'm a few steps ahead of Aurora. I'm actually a good bit ahead of Aurora in terms of getting to this lane. Ymir is actually one of the best buff clear and lane pressure gods there are, so just based on matchups, I should be able to outclear Kumba, and that alone should create lane pressure for us. So I'm ahead of Aurora in the melee creeps, so I should be walking into the center of these creeps and using my 2 to hit every single creep. And what this does is it means Aurora cannot walk into me, because if he does, I will have my freeze, and I could freeze him and hit him and all the creeps with my 2. He'll get very poked out and we'll still win push. So, because I got there ahead of Aurora, it makes him play back, which means I get pressure in the lane pretty much single-handedly just because of the way this matchup goes. So we'll play it a bit more. I'm going to walk into all the creeps. I'll hit all the creeps with my 2. And as you see, Aurora is playing this very smart, and he'll just back up and he'll concede lane pressure. So, from my end, we've got lane pressure. We are about 3 creeps ahead, which is pretty normal for the first wave. It's very rare that you'll be able to zone the enemy off of the first wave. Maybe if you have something like Sobek's Soul, who have very high clear and very high kill potential, you'll actually be able to zone that first wave and maybe have like 5 creeps walking into their tower instead of the 3 archers that we have now. So this result can vary a little bit depending on matchups, but for the most part, you shouldn't expect to have a full creep wave walking towards their tower unless they messed up buff clear or you just have such a dominant early dueling. So right here, from the losing lane side of this, I guess not really losing, but the side that doesn't have pressure, what they want to look for is how many potions do myself and Man Ray have. So as you can see, I have 6 potions and I have a meditation, so there's no way I'm going to die. I'd have to do something so insanely stupid to get killed or get close to being killed, or we just have to misplay this lane as a duo, Man Ray and myself. So they should be focusing on poking out this Rom, and the reason they want to do that is because he only has 1 health potion, so he doesn't have very much sustain in the lane, and if they can successfully poke him out, they can actually stop him from playing up on the wave, and they can maybe take lane pressure back. So one of the most important things in duo lane is that since it is such a long lane, when you have lane pressure like this, and you'll see this creep wave coming to meet the one that has So this was the first wave of the game, right? Their second wave is about to come fight our first wave. So our second wave isn't even here. They're not even close to clearing it. So because we have pressure, if Man Ray doesn't get poked here, which he does, which kind of sucks, we'd be able to start clearing this wave with his auto attacks. And this matters so much because in the dual lane, having a carry have ranged clear and just hit these creeps, not only does it start clearing the creeps and killing them, but it pushes the wave back towards their tower because auto attacks will knock back the minions, and that means it'll allow our creep wave to walk further up towards their tower, and if we do it well enough, it'll just lock them under their tower to the point where they are missing gold from creeps, or they are just losing pressure so hard that they cannot contest us at all, and we'll be able to have that priority on rotations when the buff respawns happen that we're looking for. That's the main thing you want out of laning phase. It is very rare to get a kill or look for kills in laning phase. If both dual lanes are playing it correctly, there should pretty much never be a kill in dual lane unless you have a lane like I was saying with Sobek Soul where you could actually zone the enemy lane, and if they have something like a Geb or whatever that is at risk of dying, then maybe you could see that. But in most matchups, you should never see a kill in dual lane. The way to properly win a dual lane is just through positioning and creep pressure. So, Man Ray gets poked here, and Aurora does a great job of hitting the creeps and Man Ray with his Kumba 1. So what that does is, it forces Man Ray back. He has to roll out, or he should have rolled out earlier actually, but he has to roll away, and he's poked out to about 20-25% health, and he has to use his only potion he had. So now, they created a little bit of pressure on us because Man Ray can't come up to clear this wave and knock these minions back. So you'll see what I was talking about, the minion knockback. Normally these waves should meet, let me see if I can unanchor this. These waves should normally meet about right here. This is normally where they will meet, but as you can see, because we got to knock it back a little bit, it's just a little further up the lane. Had Man Ray not gotten poked, you may have seen it meet as much as up to here. And that's a lot of pressure because, you could, as Ymir, you could look to wall them, freeze them, do whatever. So, knocking the minions back is actually a huge deal, and because Man Ray got poked, we didn't get to do that. This allows Aurora to come up to the lane. I'm going to freeze him because I don't want him to poke Man Ray anymore, and I don't want him to clear these archers. And the reason you don't want them to clear the archers is because in dual lane, the most important creeps to manage are the archers. You want to keep yours alive at all costs, and you want to clear theirs as quickly as possible. The reason for this is the supports have to walk into the melee creeps to clear, and if they're in a situation where their archers are cleared and yours are not, you can start hitting that support for free because the melee creeps will, your archers will hit him and they have no archers to hit you, and you could body block him or whatever in the melee creeps, and you can poke them out a lot or put them at risk of dying. So, Aurora's coming up to the melee creeps. I'm going to try to keep him off. I want to try to clear his archers. I can't. I pop meditation because Man Ray got poked. So I want to keep this lane pressure at all costs. I'm using my active to keep it. I'm playing up to keep it. I use my freeze on Aurora. I'm going to use my 2 twice in this lane phase. One of the reasons Ymir is so good is because I can use my clear twice on a wave, whereas Kumba can only use his clear once per wave. So even though we got poked out, even though we played a little too far up, or Man Ray played a little too far up, we're still going to keep pressure. So now that we're at this point, we pretty much have the pace of the lane dictated. Normally what you want to see in this matchup specifically, but in most matchups, you want to have your support, if you're the support player, you want to be in front of their carry player, and you want to have your carry in front of their support player. And the reason for this is, one, you're not going to be grouped up for CC. For example, if Vedium and Aurora group up, I can freeze both of them, and this puts us in a point where neither of them can clear the creeps because they're both CC'd, and both of them are taking poke. So that's pretty much worst case scenario. So you're going to see Aurora will stand on the right side of this lane, hugging the Gold Fury wall, and Vedium will stand on the left side, hugging the dual lane wall. So I'm actually misplaying here, Man Ray and I are. I should be in front of Vedium, and Man Ray should be in front of Aurora. And the reason for this is when you have pressure, if I can walk at their AD carry, I can stop him from clearing, because he has to back up to respect my clear, or he has to just poke me, and I want him to poke me. I have so many tools for sustain. I had my meditation, I had 7 health and multi-potions going in the lane. I would much rather Vedium use his poke on me and his clear on me than use it on the creeps, because what I'm looking for is lane pressure. I'm looking to push them back under their tower, so I don't care how low I am wave to wave as long as it means we get pressure. I'm valuing the pressure more than my own health. That's why supports buy so many potions, is because you're trying to get pressure. You're not trying to get a kill. It's very rare that you'll actually get a kill. So I'm going to stay up here. You see Aurora and I slap each other a couple times, pretty much useless. We're just stacking our player damage. If I was on the other side, Venium would not be able to walk this far up. Because he's allowed to walk this far up, he's allowed to start clearing our melee minions at the same time Man Ray is. So our pressure is actually pretty much gone. Even though we have the wave pushed up a little more, the pressure is pretty much gone completely. So I'm going to walk up, I'm going to try to clear archers as much as I can. Because I walked up to the archers, Venium instantly had to back up, and that created pressure again. So even though at the start of this wave I was not positioned correctly, I started walking at him, I made him back up, and now we're healed up and we got our pressure back. So now we're pretty much coasting from this point. All we have to do is not make a mistake. We just want to lock them under tower and keep our pressure, and we'll be able to rotate and try to take a fight in the early game when buff respawns. So you'll see Man right here actually is going to walk up a bit far. Aurora tries to poke him, and Venium dashes at him. I actually positioned too far back. I let them go on Man Ray. If I was positioned with him, I actually would have been able to freeze probably Venium after his dash, or he wouldn't have even dashed in the first place, and we would have had pressure. But because I didn't, I have to use my freeze and my 2 on Aurora. I actually poked him a good bit, but now Venium has positioning to poke me, and Man Ray had to use his dash to back up. So now we can't clear this wave ahead of time, so their wave is going to walk up a little more. Aurora does a great job here of, like I was saying, he's looking to trade his health for the lane pressure. His health really won't matter. You'll see that come into play in a second, but even though he looks low and he may look like we can kill him, we can't, because I just used my freeze. I have my 2 up, but he's pretty safe. He has his mez, he has his root, he's using his mez right now. So he's going to try to push us back a little more. He's going to let Venium poke Man Ray. He gets a good root on Man Ray, and now Man Ray is poked out again, and this time he doesn't have a potion, and I don't have my meditation. So this puts us in a weird spot where both Venium and Man Ray are in a position where they can clear the melee creeps, and Aurora and I are in the melee, or in the Aurora and I can try to clear the archers. So I'm going to use my 2 on the archers because I want those archers cleared. Aurora's going to back up a bit because I hit him and the creeps, and now we keep our pressure. But something you can see is that even though we have pressure, they're fighting back every wave. They're poking us back every wave. They're trying to do whatever they can to push us back, and now we've gone from pushing all the way up to their tower line to where Man Ray's at 50%. He has to stay at the middle of the lane because if Homie Faye came to gank him, he could die, or if he plays up too far, Aurora and Venium could actually kill him. So he just got poked out a bit too much. I can't walk up because they'll just mez me and root me, and I'm at risk of getting poked. So right here, Aurora charges his root. I don't want him to root Man Ray, and I want to clear these creeps. I'm going to use my 2 here to get a little bit poke. Aurora's going to try to clear again. Venium is trying to clear the archers because Aurora knocked them all back into each other. So they actually are going to win clear on this wave because Man Ray could not push up and clear the archers, and Venium could. So now they're going to push. Aurora gets a good Kumba one on the wave, and now they got into that point I was talking about earlier where they cleared my archers, and I did not clear theirs. So now they get to start running me back, and I'm going to take archer damage, and I'm going to take their abilities, and I'm taking Venium's auto attack. So now we have lost lane pressure. They are now going to push us back. Venium hits level 5 off of the creeps. I think Aurora maybe missed a couple back creeps or something. And Venium's level 5, they're pushing us back, and he's going to knock me up, and now I'm getting low, I don't have my meditation, I have to pop potions, and they actually are going to look for a kill. Venium ults me to get me low. It wasn't quite enough damage, I was pretty safe, but now we're under our tower, and they have completely reversed lane pressure. So I think that was a good example of what to do and not to do when you have lane pressure, and when you don't have lane pressure, how do you fight back from it. Venium and Aurora did a great job of that, and they poked both of us out. And now they pretty much got the lane back to even. Venium used an ult where we didn't. Aurora and I are both poked out. Man Ray's poked out. And now this is basically all matchup. We're going to out-clear them, and we're going to start pushing them back. But that's pretty much it for this laning phase. Just focus on health management and creep management. Normally, kills shouldn't happen. You shouldn't worry about kills. If you can manipulate the creeps and the positioning in the duo lane as well as you can, then you'll be much more successful than if you were looking for a kill every lane and stuff like that. So try this out, tell me what you think. Kind of a long video, but I hope you guys enjoyed watching, and I'll see you next time.